We're here.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Man, thank you guys for coming on.
Good to be here.
Yes, it's our pleasure.
Yeah.
I got to stop looking over at you. Like, I don't care what you look like.
I know, right? You see
You
me
know?
now.
Fire Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, back at it, man.
What's it feel like to be back in at least into the beginning phases of like, all right, this is coming back. Let's get the gang back together.
You know, it's weird thinking about like trying to rebuild. You know, because when there was games, you know, and you have a group of 150 or so people coming with you, yeah, there's just momentum. But now, you know, taking a year, going to be 2 years off, basically, you know, we've got to rethink like, oh, how do we do our branding and our marketing, and not like in a marketing sense, but just how do we get people to know what we're actually about again, and really build up that thing. Obviously, when games start happening, it gets a heck of a lot easier. But we've been doing all like the behind the scenes stuff, getting like our nonprofit status all firmed up and organizing our board, and you know, like actually kind of making it a much more legitimate organization. So.
Not that we weren't legitimate.
No, but it's
in a legal sense.
Yeah. It's just very much like, hey, we will be like an established legal entity that's a supporters group, and you know, a nonprofit. 501(c)(3).
501c3?
It's not the C3. It's whatever one it is.
So what's the difference?
Amount of money that you might be making or taking in is and assets, and so this one.
Why does it make sense to decide to go and do that versus what you're doing before?
So one of the big things, honestly, like we've always had sponsors, and it was part of it because like with Tioga, you know, we're bringing them in, you know, hundreds of people, and so like they're like, yeah, we'll help sponsor your scarves or your kits or whatever.
Shout out Tioga.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There we go.
So
New
like
branding on the 99. I like it.
Yeah. I
like
follow this dude on Instagram too. He's a good artist.
Echo en el Valle. I love it. Beautiful.
So like with stuff like that where people would donate to us or they would give us, but it's like it wasn't tax deductible for them. You know, so it was just out of the kindness of their hearts and the fact that we were bringing them a ton of business. You know, that it worked out.
It's a fair trade-off.
But that idea that to be a nonprofit, and you know, if you know, El Mexicano or Tioga or any of these, you know, like
Strummers in the past.
Strummers,
right?
like all these, and you know, I mean, over the years we've had probably 6-7 different sponsors. You know, and they were just mostly friends that were willing to help kind of bankroll what we were doing. But for us to be able to give that sort of tax reward back to them is helpful.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so what? This is it's been alive for 6 years now, right? 6 years? 2015?
Right. Yeah.
It's fucking nuts. I mean, it's just like I remember the early on meetings and then the first game, and it was like, holy cow! Like this is. I mean, you guys were both part of being leaders of your own supporter clubs for EPL teams and AO Fresno and like.
And honestly, if it wasn't for Fire Squad or, you know, like our local EPL supporters clubs, I've never met Ed.
It's true.
You know, like Fire Squad's the only reason I have probably a lot of the friends I have right now. You know,
it was
off the top of my head.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, they started coming to matches and we're like, who are these Chelsea idiots, you know? And like, but then it's like, then they, you know, over the years you become very close friends, and it's like those sort of things. I mean, people that were already married, you know, have had kids. People have gotten married because they met in Fire Squad,
right?
You know, and are now
awesome.
having kids. And so it's like, you know, it's cool to think like we helped be a part of the founding of this thing that's related to the soccer community.
Yeah.
And it's been able to grow and change and can continue to grow and change, hopefully, in positive directions.
Yeah, I mean, we actually had Vicente on Tuesday.
Okay.
He came in and
right.
he was talking about how he's become super close buddies with the Real Madrid guys now.
Right.
And he's like, man, at the beginning I was like eyeing him out, like when I'd see him at the bars or whatever, and be like, hey, those are the Real Madrid guys.
Oh no, I
like,
remember the first time my friend Nick and I, you know, being Chelsea fans, going into Peeves with all these Arsenal guys, and we're in our kits, and they're looking at us like, the hell are these guys? Like, like,
why are you here?
Yeah, why are you here?
These Clovis Bar guys.
Exactly. And and so it's one of those things where, you know, we even knew going in, it's like, you know, a lot of these guys are going to be like, screw these guys, you know, who the hell with these. But
do you think that that the inception of Fire Squad enhanced the other supporter clubs that were out there? Like more people started going to the bars, or Because what I saw was like people started doing the away games at the other folks' bars. I'm like, that's super cool.
I can say for us, like we have a lot of members in our Chelsea group that came to know us through Fire Squad. They were going to Fuego matches, and then we'd just talk, who's your team, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, do you know they have a group? Oh, you're Chelsea. Okay, well, I own the bar in Clovis that, we show Chelsea matches and everything. And so you get to, I think it was kind of both sides. Like you had a lot of people in these groups like, hey, come out to the Fuego matches. Super awesome. We're part of Fire Squad Fresno, really cool supporters club, or vice versa, where, we meet them at Fuego matches and then they start coming out for EPL matches and whatnot and everything. So it really fed off of each other, I think.
And I think a lot of there was just so much momentum around that era of just supporters groups, whether, AO as a supporters group growing for the U.S. and PVA coming after that. And, the growth of the availability of soccer on TV, stuff like that.
That was huge.
There was just all those things that kind of happened right at the right turn. So, it helped us develop as a supporters club for the Fuego, and it, like Andrew was saying, it did also help. You see a guy and you're like, oh, hey, you got a Madrid jersey on. Hey, do you know this dude who's in the Fresno Madridistas? Or whatever. And same thing is like you see a guy out at the supermarket and you're like, oh, you got an Arsenal kid on. Like, oh, you like, hey, you should come down to our bar and watch match with us. And then when they're at the bar, it's like, hey, have you heard about Fuego? Or, have you met our Lord and Savior, Fresno Fuego? No. For can I induct you into the further religion? And so it's like it becomes a very interactive community. Where you're always pushing people both ways, and there's always going to be people that like still never. There's definitely people that go to like the Liverpool example that aren't really going to be involved with the local team, and that's fine. And there's going to be people definitely going to the local games that don't care about international EPL or MLS or any of that. And so, as long as they're coming out and interacting, that's kind of all we can ask.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a few interesting things that I had questions about. Is like I felt like you guys were at the forefront over the last couple of years of like trying to be ahead of social issues, and a lot of things were happening, as far as like the P chant goes or whatever injustices that were happening around the country, and you guys have created this place where it's inclusive, and you've allowed there's a bunch of different types of people in Fire Squad. It's so diverse, like what's that been like trying to deal with that? Because to me it's extremely difficult on the club side, but we've got some layers of separation from the the patrons that come to the match, but you guys are in it with them, and everybody's got an opinion.
I think it's there. I mean, again, it's there's always going to be a difference of opinion, amongst individuals and what they think and believe and everything. But I think a lot of people that just saw that there's a lot of more like-minded people in Fire Squad and things like that. Have we lost members because they disagreed with this? Yes, that's I know a couple examples where that may have happened. But have we gained members? Yes, as well. But I think it's just, I don't know how to put it specifically, but just, we're aware of those issues around there. And I think soccer being such a global game, it kind of emphasizes those issues quite a bit. And, supporters clubs around the world are very active. You look at like a FC St. Pauli in Germany, where their supporters are like, we're anti-fascist first.
We're gonna go fight some racists,
and then fans second. Like that. Yeah. That's what they're all about.
Really? Well, shoot, like Portland, some of the Timbers Army type same stuff where they're like, oh, we're gonna fight a skinhead at a match, and like type stuff. And
so we're not like that.
Yeah, we're kind of like, hey, please don't do that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
avoid the violence.
But but it's just one of those things where I think people just kind of start gravitating towards. People kind of think, no, do we all think the same? No, but it's just like it's how you make friends.
Yeah. How do you avoid letting a social cause overtake the group?
Well, I think some of it's making sure that it's actually what your group believes in. So I run a lot of our socials, and so like, I usually if I'm putting something out there that maybe is more on the edge, then I'll consult our other leaders and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Do we all agree that this is something that we think our club is behind? you know, and that's not going to represent everybody, but it's also, well, I mean, that's who we are. And we always, when we started, you know, had we called it the "don't be a prick" clause of, you know, basically like, you know, hey, we're not going to tolerate any racism, sexism, homophobia. You know, we don't want to have violence towards other fans, all these sort of things. And so basically, like, sum it up by, you know, don't be a prick when you're in our section. And because was a part of who we were to the start, I think we do feel comfortable saying, like, yeah, we support the idea of, like, Black Lives Matter, and that's integral to us because of just who we are and who our leadership is, and hopefully who we've attracted as members. That doesn't mean everybody in our group is going to agree. I mean, we have definitely going to have some more conservative members, just being in the Valley. And so if it's important enough, I think we're willing to lose people to make the right stand.
Yeah.
So.
And I think also, like, at the end of the day, I mean, we all, you know, we all know who we think what we think and everything, but we also just want to go support our club as well, you know. And I think most of our members, I would say 99% of our members are like, okay, you know, if I don't agree with what they're putting out, that's fine. I still want to go have a party, watch the match, sing some songs, have a good time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's kind of a balance that it's, you know, everything beyond game day and then what happens on game day, you know, it's kind of.
And I think, like, I mean, a couple years ago when Fresno FC, you know, it's like when there was like a big push of kind of fan groups getting into it with the leagues about, like, anti-fascist flags and saying, like, well, yeah, you're not going to allow people to have, well, you know, clubs getting
I saw
kicked out and stuff
Phoenix
like that.
had one right behind the
and
goal,
stuff like that.
every single match.
And even, like, they had one where it was like a crossed out swastika, and the league came down on them and said, you know, we understand the meaning behind what you're putting up, but it's still a swastika up, and it looks bad on TV for us. Yeah. And so, like, those sort of things happen.
It feels like you're bringing up awareness to just hate.
And so, like,
I'm sure from their perspective,
we've had people that are like, oh yeah, like, we want to have, like, an anti-fascist tifo, and we're like, that's not really us, you know. And not that we're not against fascism, but that's not what we're about as a group, you know. And so, like, and it doesn't relate to the sport that we're there, you know, supporting. So
that's the hardest angle for me, you know, because soccer, I feel like, has been so comfortable in the space. I mean, you see European clubs, like, it was like, all right, let's kneel, let's do this, let's do that, let's have a cause. And so the conversation's been a lot more comfortable, but there's a lot of people out there, like my parents, you know, that are just like, I just want to watch the game. I just want to watch the game. I enjoy sports, and I don't want that to consume my experience.
That I think that just can't
it doesn't happen in modern
modern sports. Everything's so global, everyone's so connected, issues are so out there that you can't avoid it now. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things. Yeah, you can't just say, we'll just shut up and play the game.
I mean, and it hurts my heart a little bit because I'm a diehard Raider fan. But with the tweet last week, right? Just this kind of thing that's seemingly supposed to be positive, but seems so insensitive and like.
Well, it was poorly done. I mean, proper execution is important when you put up messages, you know.
Yeah.
And like, well, like, because honestly,
especially on that platform,
you don't always, like, in my opinion, and I mean where we're at as a club, it's like you don't have to have a comment on every single topic.
No,
you don't.
Well, and if you know, if it's important to your team or to your members or your players or whatever, then yeah, have a stance. But you know, it's like we didn't put any, like, some groups were putting out stuff about, like, the Super League. You know, no Super League, and we're
holy
like,
cow, I want to talk to you guys about that today too.
But we're like, we don't have anything to do with it. Like, I mean, like, I'm against it personally, but Fire Squad doesn't have a stance. Well, because it's just greedy money grab. You know what I mean? Like, the idea.
It's important, I think, for people to kind of hear this perspective because a lot of people got on Twitter and they saw Super League and they were like, dope, more games, Liverpool versus whatever. And they're like, I get to get more soccer?
As an Arsenal fan, yes, I want to see our team play the best teams. I want them to also earn it. You know, and like the idea that you're a permanent member of this Super League with a couple additions added, you know, it's greed, you know, and you don't deserve to be there. You know, we don't deserve to be in the Champions League right now because we've sucked, you know. They deserve to be in the Champions League. Chelsea deserves to be there because they've won games. You know, they've earned their spot. And until you do that, why should you be in this now global thing? And I mean, especially because it's like, so I mean, you can't tell me that, oh, the European Super League is not going to be like, hey, we're going to come over and play in LA, for a match. Because they already tried that, right, with Barca and Real
Madrid tried to have
play in Miami. And it's like,
and what happened?
Oh, the backlash.
The backlash was crazy. Fans stood up against it, and
because those two teams want that game in their home stadiums.
Well, and they're also like, this is our game.
Yeah,
it's not.
Why are you going to go play in another country as a part of the season?
As a part of the season.
I mean,
if it was an exhibition game,
sure.
Nobody's coming.
It's arguably.
I mean, the fans will come, but you're not getting all the players.
And it's arguably the biggest rivalry in the history of the sport. I mean, that's next level rivalry. I mean, to say, okay, like, you're a Barca
It's so
fan.
challenging, though, because you look at some of these other sports that, I mean, this is a little different, but you look at the UFC and how they've become global, the NBA, or the NFL playing in England now and playing a game in Mexico and maybe future Canada. And it's like, it's been a way to spread the game to different markets and, like, become more global. Not that soccer needs to become more global.
Well, but
it makes sense to me
playing
from a
a game,
business
right? No, from a business
playing
perspective,
a one-off.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Say, if say the Chelsea and Arsenal came over and played in Kroenke's new stadium in LA. I mean, if it's a one-off, that's different than an
in-season match.
Well, even if it wasn't in-season, at least you could make that case like, oh yeah, the NFL goes over and plays a couple games in London. Okay,
I would say this: like, if Chelsea had a home game against Arsenal, and they decided, no, we're going to play that game in New York, I would be mad because I would argue that home field advantage is so much more when fans are in the stands. It's so much more in football or in soccer than most sports. I mean, it's
it is
crazy.
Definitely different. I mean, you see, and I'm still trying to kind of dig through my understanding of why that is, and I actually kind of want to see what are the numbers like during COVID, if home field advantage played as much of a role as it.
I think I saw some stats where it's like, I mean,
it's unreal though, because it's not like American football where I'm the quarterback, I'm in the rival stadium, and I can't hear a damn thing.
Right.
And now we have a false start, or the wide receiver runs the wrong route.
Yeah.
And then when I'm on offense as Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, they're quiet, and I can call out all my plays. And so there's clearly an advantage in that situation.
Yeah.
But in soccer, it's like you can't see how it affects the play as much as it actually does.
Yeah, I always go back and forth on like whether, as a supporters group leader, how much do we actually matter to the players?
Yeah.
Because there's a point where I'm like, those guys are going to go out there and play the game no matter what, and me yelling in the stands doesn't affect whether or not that ball goes in the goal. But then you also hear players say like, no, it really helps like just get us up for the game and to hear the noise and to not like you're hearing every chant, but you hear people, and on the opposite side, it's intimidating to come into a stadium where you do have a section with like 1,000 people going ape shit and
and you as the keeper
and you're like the guy you're just getting harassed for 45 minutes.
Right.
I mean, it reminds me of I can't believe we allowed this for as long as we did, but when Tex was just blaring on the bullhorn for that was like, as the keeper, I'm on the field like, oh, this is miserable
when Schulte told us like when he got chewed out by like a parent from FPU from one of the like exhibition games where I can't remember if it was Fuego or FC played FPU in the park, and somebody, I don't even know if it was Kyle or if it was somebody else, was just going off on this dude, and like the parent like, I thought you guys are against bullying, and like it's like we're like, well, sorry, like
there's
banter,
bullying.
I'm sorry, the fans are talking crap to your kid.
I mean, it's kind of.
I guess I think from an FPU standpoint, I can kind of understand that being it's a college student, rather than
no doubt.
Even though Fuego is amateur, but it's like it's more of a.
So. Before we move on too far, the Super League stuff still it's so interesting to me that the fans that stood up the most against it were the fans of the clubs that were part of it. I figured it would be from the clubs that didn't get in.
I think from a obviously being a huge Chelsea supporter, like looking at all and talking with actually a lot of friends from London, they're just like, they saw it as kind of an attack on the history of their sport in England. I don't think it was just from a club standpoint. I think it was they saw it as just attack on English football. It's like they've prided themselves on having this pyramid for over 100 years, and you've got to earn every promotion, and if you screw up, you're going to get penalized in a big way. And as time has gone on, with more money being in the sport, that just makes it more and more like we always joke, like the richest game in sport is the championship playoff to go from the championship to the Premier League, because there's two teams playing one game for a $200 million payout.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you're the owner of a Brentford, and you're like, okay, we've got a $10 million budget, or $10 to $20 million budget. Now we're in a game where we could basically
change our future forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that
Or the opposite
pressure.
way when you watch like Sunderland Till I Die. If you haven't watched it out there, watch
exactly.
it. But the reverse can happen if you fuck up.
And you've got this great stadium, you've got this team with all this history, and now you're in League One, and you're just like, oh, this is sad.
Well, it's what I love about it, though. I mean,
that's the precise thing.
In this country, I feel like we don't punish the loser enough. I mean, I hate to say that in a way.
Well, it's the whole thing.
You reward the loser in this country often.
Yeah, look at the NBA tanking. With the draft, with the NFL draft tonight.
The Astros did it in baseball and won World Series.
Right, exactly.
If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, like how long were they just abysmal as a friend? And just in the last year or two, they kind of been decent, right? And but their owner had no incentive to ever invest more or do anything better,
and that's
because the money's coming in.
And that's, I think, the Super League, with having a closed league, you have no repercussions. Like what I said, I mean, I posted this when we had a game on Monday when the whole Super League fell apart. I posted, I was like, 3 days ago, this game meant everything because we're fighting for fourth place. We're fighting for a Champions League spot. With the Super League, game meant nothing. Meant absolutely nothing.
Because if you don't make Champions League, you're still in Super League.
We're still in the Super League.
And they wouldn't play in the Champions League.
Because
and then
UEFA wasn't going to allow.
So whoever was in the Super League did not get to play in Champions League.
Would not be allowed in Champions League.
So that makes a lot of sense. So
and
it would ruin Champions League.
Yeah.
It would ruin the domestic league too, because they say like, oh well, we still play in the domestic league on the weekend or whatever, but it's like, well,
you're trying to win the Super League.
What's the point of playing in the domestic league?
Yeah.
Because again, if you can't qualify for Europa or Champions League or whatever, the only benefit is to win your league. But
let's say you're an Arsenal and you're out of the title contention. Well, what do we play for now?
Yeah. Right.
Just stay above relegation.
So what if
don't get relegated in
Spain, Italy, Germany, England put together their own league, and you had to get
they have one. It's called the Champions League. Or we're
playing Real Madrid next week.
I mean, it exists already, and you earn your way into it. And but it's crazy to think like these owners did so bad a job that they made UEFA look good and FIFA look good,
like
super corrupt organizations, and so the Super League falls apart, and then UEFA announces the new Champions League format that's going to come in a couple years, where essentially they're adding 100 more games.
Yeah,
which
players are like,
what are you talking? Like, how do we have time for this?
Yeah,
and then plus you're wedging in international games left and right, and it's like players are like, Aubameyang flew to Gabon, play for Gabon, and he gets stranded in an airport, fish 16 hours, and is like just sleeping on the floor of a freaking airport, and you're like, this guy is one of the richest players in England, is sleeping on an airport floor because of the amount of games that get wedged in, and they just get trapped somewhere. Basically, it's stupid stuff like that, or you got malaria.
Well, that too.
But so those sort of things, and then you want to basically drop out of your domestic league to play in this money league.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter if you win the Super League. Who cares? If you lose the Super League, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If Arsenal finishes 10th every year,
they're not getting dropped out of it.
They're there.
Like you said, it's like in American sports, we do reward those who lose. You get a high draft pick or something like that. It's like you in European football, you lose, you're losing out a lot of money, and you're in a second league.
From a supporter perspective, I mean, what's your guys' view on the future of Pro Rel and maybe the USL, or Who knows? Maybe one day the MLS.
I mean, I'd love it. I think it's not the cure all that I mean, like if the people that are really like staunch pro advocates, I think see it as like, oh, this would save everything. I think it would be very good for the game, you know, but it's still got issues, you know. I mean, I understand why
Mexico just closed theirs out.
Yeah, I understand why an owner doesn't want to, you know, spend all this money to own an MLS team that then drops down to like USL One, and you know, it's like, well,
and that's
you know what,
the
spend
whole
your money.
thing. Like, I just don't see the American owner like ever going along with that. Like,
I don't think any owner would never actually want to do that if they didn't have to do that.
Right,
it's
yeah,
the fact that it was
exactly.
built into the foundation of the other
like,
leagues that makes it
and
makes
everything.
sense.
But yeah, like I don't see an Arthur Blank from like Atlanta United being like, I mean, this guy started Home Depot and owned, you know, rich as all get out.
Right.
Being like, oh, okay, so you're going to devalue, like if we get relegated, so you just cut the value of my team in half. So
Yeah, this big stadium I have is going to be half empty, you know,
Right,
because
right.
who's going to come see my team play at the lower tier?
And I'm sure an accountant somewhere in his empire is going to be like, whoa, this ain't good. You know?
So, which is kind of crazy thing about with the Super League, like I get it in like the English teams because they're mostly owned. I mean, like American ownership groups,
Russian oil baron.
Russian oligarch, and you know the
Actually Jewish oligarch.
well Israeli.
Well,
Now that he's
Israeli,
you know, whatever.
richest Israeli citizen in the world.
Yeah, because he
He got banned from
got
England,
banned from England.
so he went and got
Became
a
a citizen of Israel.
Israeli passport. Yeah.
Roman Abramovich. Anyway,
Side
Reasonable.
track.
like the English teams are losing money, but they're not losing money like crazy. But like the Spanish teams, like if you're Real Madrid, how are you losing so much money? If you're Barca, how are you losing so much money? And they're just getting killed on the finances, and it's because like, well, you're spending money like nuts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and what there was a stat came out there. They're like, it's like 21 times difference between the lowest payroll team in La Liga and the highest. The Premier League is like 9 times difference. You know, and so it's like you see like that sort of
It's a
discrepancy.
huge disparity, yeah.
But
So it's
here's
like-
the thing: Barcelona lost to Granada today.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're going to get relegated from La Liga, and so here's the whole thing: you got to earn it. Like you just lost to one of the, like a team that you're 21 times more payroll.
And so when their owner's like, "Oh, we're broke," I don't feel sorry for them. Like, oh,
Perez,
be a better owner. Like, stop spending money on stupid things. Don't get in a bidding war for Neymar or whatever. Even if you want him, if you can't afford Neymar, you can't afford him. You know what I mean? Like, Central Valley Fuego is not going to be like in a bidding war for, you know, any U.S. national. We can't afford it, right? You're like, you're not going to bankrupt your team to buy a player.
And that was the biggest thing also with like Perez, the president of Real Madrid, when he was talking about that. He's like, oh no, we're trying to save football by doing this. Young people are losing interest because the games are too long. It's like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you are so tone deaf. I don't know who told you this. I don't know what, like, this sport is played by kids all around the world.
Well, the legacy fan.
Yeah.
You know,
And
honestly,
it's growing in the
you look-
U.S. Like, I know you guys are always concerned about that U.S. market because love that.
They're all
US
trying
dollar.
to tap in. They're all trying to tap in.
But I don't know why they can't. Like honestly, like, we get up at 4:30 in the morning to watch our teams play sometimes. You know, or maybe we're lucky and we have a noon game. You know, but it's like, so there's people in California doing that. There's people in Australia doing that. There's people in the Far East doing that. So people all over the world are buying your jerseys and getting up at crazy times to watch your sport, and you feel like you're not making inroads in the markets. It's like, well, you are. Just manage your actual asset better. You know, it's honestly
There's a reason NBC is paying all this money for the rights to EPL because they know it does well for them.
there's a reason why Paramount bought Champions League or whatever. You know, it's like amongst my friends we joke now that Arsenal has become a great streetwear company with a mid-table team. Bro, is yours gold? No.
Here we go.
I'm just saying, like, if you want to,
I will say,
if you want to talk,
Arsenal's, I mean,
we've won the trophy more than other teams
Only team in London.
with the European Cup. Yeah, I know. I know your songs.
Arsenal has dope gear.
They do.
I mean, there's no question they do
great.
such a good job. But I don't know if you guys have paid attention out there in the league, but there's a few name brands that have taken over the USL,
Sure.
and I just think there's a lot of clubs that look too similar.
Yeah, well, we were joking before about I think it was 2 years ago, the last Fresno FC home kit. that basically every team had that
like
same
2/3 of
Adidas
the
kit, but
USL
just in
had
their
it.
own colors.
Yeah.
And we're like, you see the kit release, like, oh, that's cool. And then they're like, oh, they just had theirs.
Yeah.
Oh. And so
The
like,
same thing just came out. I think it was the Puma, like the honeycomb.
Yeah, yeah.
So many teams had the honeycomb, and it's
Yeah.
like that's one thing that kind of bums me out about the MLS is that they've gone league wide Adidas and
Yeah.
all the kits are the same. And I'm like, something that makes me love soccer differently than other sports is that there's so much diversity in every league of all the different styles of jersey.
And I think that's
cool.
Over the years, that's also been a thing now. Like I admit I'm a total kit whore. I mean, I have one closet dedicated
I
to
just
all my
bought 2
kits.
more this week.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a cool thing. Like you have all these different alternate jerseys and
Yeah.
everything like that, and you notice, like you look at the NBA now. I mean, teams in the NBA seem like they have 7 different jerseys that they wear throughout the season.
Yeah, they do a bunch of
And,
special
and
kits.
again, it's all about that marketing and that branding and all that
Community
kind of thing.
connection and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because what's a big deal for a lot of supporters, soccer supporters? It's like, did you see the new kits leak?
Yeah,
You know?
kit leaks, man. It's
Yeah,
an
I mean, that's
industry.
a big thing.
Custom kits are the way to go.
Like,
even like this, the kit that we're wearing.
Yeah.
Like this is dope.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I like
Well,
different
Well, shout out to Jordan Weeby for the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Icarus
Yeah.
is the company
Icarus
that
FC
did these.
did that, and-
If you follow Icarus on Instagram, like they run a lot of stuff where like they just like make
They
up
do
kits
random stuff.
and like they're like, oh, we're doing like the Sumerian League from 16 BC or and then
Just Babylonian
and like
dragons or
like a
something
run
weird.
of like 10 kits that they just like,
We've got this
post
kit
them
in
up.
Aramaic.
Oh, this team finished 5th in the league that year, and you're like, and it's just all nonsense, but like they're coming
like
up with creative designs and doing a really good job. And they make a good product. So
And I think that honestly, within Fire Squad, that's kind of our excitement. It's like, okay, what are we going to do for a kit this year?
Sure.
yeah.
And it usually it's like call Jordan and see what weird design he's got up his sleeve.
But our last one though was inspired by France's women's kit.
Yeah.
So like the women's away kit for the last Women's World Cup, France is like little polka dots. And
Okay,
so we
yeah.
put
The ash
we
leaf.
took that idea and put the Fresno ash leaf on there instead of the dots, and it was like, yeah, we kind of snaked their idea, but it was a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I
Well, and
liked
those
it.
companies already, really like a lot of what Adidas is doing is looking back. Hey, what did either we did or some other Nike did 20 years ago for this team? And so you see like a variation on like, oh, this was the Dortmund kit that Dramberg designed, and so we're gonna do a playoff of that, or this is the Galaxy Community kit, which is a throwback to the one of the kits that Nike did.
Yes, I like that one a lot. The one they just released this year?
I just
Yeah,
got that one because I was
that
like,
a lot.
it's dope, and I remember
I think it's
that.
the 90s.
I think it might. It's like
It's one of the
98.
90s. Yeah,
I think
it
it's like
wasn't the
98 or
first year because
99,
I think
but
the first year was that gold. They had like the gold with the different logo right there on the
Yeah,
chest. I
yeah.
think.
Well,
but
we were
that
the
kit's
Clash
super.
back then. The
Clash.
scorpion on her chest.
When were you
I
the
actually didn't
Equakes?
hate that.
No.
I didn't hate that at all.
It doesn't make. I mean, like
Well,
it doesn't
there
make
were
sense
earthquakes and since the 70s and then
having
like,
the scorpion. That's what I don't get.
yeah.
Where does that come from?
That's
Yeah.
I know. I was like,
But
This
so
makes
like
no sense.
kid companies, you could do cool stuff.
Yeah,
but it's hard.
Design's difficult. I mean, you're an art instructor. Like, design can be simplistic, but to really wrap a meaning into it. I mean, we've been working on some kit designs, and we've shown a very small group of people to get some critique on the design work. Nathan's done an incredible job designing stuff so far. And we were trying to include like Central Valley stuff and all that. And some of the critics were just like, nobody in France is doing anything French. Nobody in England is doing all these things England. But I think for us, it feels
they
like it makes
actually
sense to
are.
include.
There are so like I mean, United had a kit last year. I think it was their third kit that was like the sublimation was like the skyline of the city.
Okay.
And so there's stuff out there like that, but
it's like Manchester City this year. They have that god awful Paisley kit that
kinda
they
like
wear
that.
this year, and that's
Yeah.
like supposed to be like their, Manchester kind of, like culture scene kit they called it or whatever. But yeah,
Well, and Arsenal's away kit that we never wear is this white. It's based off of the marble at the old Highbury Stadium.
See, that's
and so
super
it's
it
like
looks
it's,
like they just committed murder.
yeah, I mean, it's people joke it's the
It looks
Dexter
like
kit,
marble, yeah.
and so
It's
like
it's red marble.
but that's
it's
the
like-
other one I just got because I was like, well, it's on sale now, and I'll finally break down and buy some kits from this year. But like, it's a cool kit, and it's a nice subtle nod to the history of the team.
Sure.
Whereas even like last year, the Galaxy's home kit, they had like the since '96 stitched on it, and it was like being the original teams had some other details that were woven in, and so it's like I was like, yeah, as a longtime Galaxy fan, I'm gonna get one of those. I'm gonna shell out the 130 or whatever it was to get the authentic, because it's got more in it that's worth it for me on this one, and it's cool and it's a nice looking kit, but in general I'm not.
And again, like all this is an aspect of why this game is awesome.
Yeah, because there's so much variation in all of it, right?
And people might not always notice it too.
Yeah,
but then you start like, I mean, like on my tattoo, and you can't see my water bottle, but like it's the bruised banana design from Arsenal's 96. I should know that. But
it was in the 90s. Yeah, no, I remember. It was I
have them,
predominantly yellow kit, right?
Yeah, and they actually Adidas re-released it last year. So it's like I have an original one, and then I bought the re-release edition. But it's like that's a cult kit from Arsenal that a lot of their it's like you hunt for that, and you're scouring eBay to try and find this kit, and when you see somebody with it, you're like, okay, which is kind of a bummer now with all the weird marketing. So like, there's also like all these like Chinese companies that are making knockoffs, and they look dead on. And,
really? Yeah.
And so like I have a 98 Arsenal knockoff that I got this year that was like $40, and I was like, oh,
no one's
whatever.
Gonna know when you wear it,
no one, you can't tell.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, you would swear that's an Adidas badge,
right.
But so it's getting a little hard to know if somebody's got a real one,
right?
When you see that cool old kit. But like these guys have the weird like the Coors year, and some different stuff. So it's like it's a part of the culture, and it is about fun. Like, oh, you know a guy who can help you get these other weird kits, and you're all your friends are going through, and so you do all these little things, and it's like, okay, so yeah, then you show up at the match, and sure, maybe you also have this year's kit, and so today I'm wearing this one. There's a bunch of games where I didn't want to wear one of the latest finished ones I got because it was like, oh, it's Ian Wright, my favorite player. It's this great Arsenal kit, and I'm scared to wear it because I don't want them to lose while I'm wearing this goddamn jersey.
That, and also, I don't want to spill beer on it.
That also too. It's like I'm gonna go home and take it right off, and turn it inside out if I'm gonna wash it right now.
I definitely pick kits based on the level of how the day is gonna go.
So this one's stained. I'm getting
okay,
hammered today.
Yeah, right. Like this one's like I've got a couple of those where I'm like, okay, I'm safe. This can afford a couple more.
Whatever happens.
I actually was wearing the Ian Wright kit last week, and Arsenal lost. And we went home, and I just took it off not because I was ashamed that my team lost, and we were going to go out to the bar because I didn't want to get crap all over it,
all messed up,
and get all sweaty in it and stuff. So I was like, no, I just put on an Arsenal T-shirt, and if somebody sees this and wants to talk crap about my team losing, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not also going to.
I'm not going to
ruin this nice old kit that I.
Right. Yeah.
What's the oldest kit either of you guys have?
It doesn't fit me, but I do have a 1984 Le Coq Sportif Chelsea jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an XL, but it probably could fit a 10-year-old.
It's a medium.
Yeah, it's again, that's the other thing, being a larger dude, it's
hard to find kits.
It's
hard to find kits.
Yeah, I have some early 90s Arsenal ones, and they're like, oh, this was an XL, but it's like a 42-44 or something like that, and it's
basically
like
a large.
Yeah, so
an American medium.
It's tight, so you don't wear that one very much.
Right. Yeah. But I've got a few USA jerseys like that where I'm like, damn, I need to hit the treadmill so I can wear this again.
Yeah.
I wish to me, I think the US. I hate to be so critical of them, but I'm like, it needs to step up. Their game has been not very good lately.
Nike doesn't. I don't know. I'm sure somebody knows a good Nike kit.
PSG's gear. Like PSG
that's
is
Jordan,
pushing
though. That's Jordan brand,
Jordan
right?
is just
I know, but it's weird. And honestly, like there's some beautiful Arsenal ones that were Nike. There's some beautiful Dortmund ones. That this one guy who works for Nike, and I follow him on Instagram. He's done some great stuff over the years. But a lot of stuff now, it's just kind of like, it's kind of bland.
But
honestly, like a lot of the it's weird because like the U.S. will have a good, like they had the Waldo kit, with the red hoops.
That was my favorite one.
That was great. I still love. I wear that one
in the Astro Pop.
I wear that one. So yeah, the bomb pop was the
Yeah.
one that like I didn't like it at first, but then the more I saw it, I was like, no, that's actually really cool.
That was the World Cup one, right?
Yeah.
And like the very different blue.
Yeah, and so like
blue, huge blue, like
the red. Yeah, and so
I like that one a lot.
Those ones like they had character, and then it's like, well, it's a new year, so we have a new one coming out, and you're like,
the last few have
this
not
is
been
boring,
good.
and it's like
They've not been good. Like to me, the last good one was actually like the white one with the collar, for whatever reason. I think
like
that was
collars.
also the World Cup year.
Yeah, I like
They wore
colors.
that one.
yeah.
But I mean, so what's next for Fire Squad? I mean, you guys have obviously grown to a massive level. I think when Fresno FC came about, there started to be some other clubs that sparked up. But where's your area of growth, and what do you guys want to see like moving into the future?
I think it just based on our conversations, like we've had some just our board members and everything, getting everything kind of finalized, doing the nonprofit. We actually are kind of looking at how Fuego is trying to be the Valley's team. We've actually talked about that, like, okay, reaching out more to not just Fresno and just more of the outside communities and everything, and what can we do? We actually have talked about that as like trying to do more community outreach and community service. I know we've talked about that as well, like how can we help out volunteering? We would do things like when we laid the sod for that school, a couple things here and there. But yeah, like really trying to focus on that because, I mean, we all miss the game days and everything, but I think we also, after a year and a half off, basically, it's like we all kind of miss each other.
Sure.
And so, looking forward to...
And you guys have done Zooms and meetups.
Yeah,
and I've been able to go, speak for just a little bit at some of them, but it's cool. So you guys are staying connected and active during this time off.
Somewhat. But it's still hard because there hasn't been much to do, or that you could do. And even, like there was people that reached out to us like in the last year, like, oh, is Squad going to do a kit this year? And it's like, well, there's no soccer right now.
Right.
Like, it's kind of weird.
And it's hard to justify, like, hey, Tyler Sequoia, want to sponsor a kit?
You give us a couple grand?
Can't have anybody at your place to drink, but...
give us some money.
Come
on.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
Come on, Mike.
So, like, obviously once the game is going again, like it's a lot easier to see like, well, yeah, here's how we get people involved and kind of rebuild the community around of Fire Squad, but also finding more opportunities and taking, because even that was something I remember Jared, when he was one of our first capos, was critical of what we were doing because he's like, I love what we do, but I also think we should be doing more involved in the community. And why aren't we doing that? And so it was like, well, we were still just trying to get our feet, and so like now that we're 6 years in, it's like, yeah, why aren't we, how do we put this in place? Like, okay, how do we help out with, whether it's Beautify Fresno or some other organization, doing like a fundraiser for like Marjorie Mason or whatever, just and take on the causes that are important to the people in our groups and really help the community be better.
Yeah, it's so hard too because we've talked about social cause and like what things do we want to identify with and what things make the biggest difference in our community, and it's like the good things that we've been able to see is that there's so many groups out there that are doing a lot of awesome stuff that we can help support like and uplift all these other things. But I was gonna ask that is the nonprofit, does it have maybe a specific cause or set of causes that you guys are maybe thinking about focusing on?
I don't think we've got an identified one that we could say. I mean, like, I think there will be stuff that we definitely find more kind of close to our hearts and try and support.
And like we have, I think in our core leadership group right now, we've got a really diverse group and a lot of good people that are involved in a lot of different things. And so once things get going and, we have an idea of what the future holds for Fuego and things like that, that we'll be able to kind of focus and, people will be like, okay, I've got this coming up. This fundraiser we can maybe help out at, and because we have a lot of our members work at Bitwise or in the local art community and art hops and things like that. So Yeah, the opportunities will be there. It's just, again, with everything kind of opening back up again, now we're going to be in the process of, what can we pinpoint and help out with.
And also really, I mean, I think we have to, one, continue to grow our leadership and spread out what we're doing so that it's not quite as centralized as maybe it's been in the past. And also just better resource our people to see like, hey, what do you guys actually care about? Because it's like, I know what I care about, but this isn't just my group. I know what, maybe Andrew cares about. But again, two middle-aged white dudes, we represent only a small selection of our community. And so, how do we find out what's going to better represent everybody in our group and reach out and build our group in other areas and be an effective tool for us as fans, and for also supporting our team, because ultimately, while we can be involved with other activities that are important to us, we still ultimately are a supporters group for a soccer club, and so,
but so much more. But so much more. And I think everybody realizes that, like, we're all here because of the club and the team, and we want to be. But we all know that we're just a small segment of this larger thing, and like we can use the platform of soccer to enjoy our time together,
right? But
also to uplift people that need to be uplifted or whatnot. I think,
like, getting on the downtown thing, obviously we've always supported a place to play downtown, and that's obviously like been one of our things. Like, we always champion downtown Fresno and things like that.
It's the place it should be. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the place that it should be.
Yes, it should be.
I mean,
I mean, granted, over the years with Fresno FC and everything, we've always heard, all these different locations, but again, people just, when you think about it, it's thrive downtown. It's, that's...
Well, you think about it, it's like, all right, the nitty gritty of it, 65% of our population is Hispanic in the Central Valley. If you look at the last 30 years of downtown, who's uplifted and supported the downtown community? It's been a lot of Hispanic-based businesses, and not to just mention that, but you've got this weird kind of triangle of transportation geography where you've got the 180, you've got the 99, you've got 41 that goes up, and you connect to all these different areas from Hanford Lemoore up to Madera, down to Visalia,
Mendota, Dinuba. You come.
It's the intersection of our valley, and it's Kerman, shout out to Kerman. I'm going to be at Kerman. Esquadron's actually doing a little drumming session out there.
Awesome.
I'm going to go support that on Sunday. But it's the infrastructure's there. It's the right spot, and it's what I genuinely believe the city of Fresno needs as a spark. I mean, our downtown, it just seems like it's on the brink of something that can be really special.
I mean, you look at the brewery district.
Really
again, look at any pre-match at Tioga Sequoia. The place is packed. I mean, it's just, there's life there. There's stuff going on. You've got the Modernist down there now. You've got Quail State opening up. You got all these different businesses and opportunities, and what's already been there as well. And
I'd say Los Panchos was, Violantes were there. And now Full Circle is
in a better spot,
right open, right across from Tioga, and so it's like you have all these people that are going to be congregating there.
If you have,
if you are able to get the stadium there, it makes total sense. And I mean, I tell people, like, I went to a Sounders game in Seattle and years back, and it was just crazy because like we went somewhere and got some pizza, and I was there as a Galaxy fan to watch my Galaxy play. But, so you just start seeing like a mass. And it's not like, when with Squad, we had a fairly organized march because it was like, hey, we need to be in the stadium at a certain point, and to do some stuff.
But it's also half a block.
But
so like, it's close. But I remember the first march from Peeves, and it was like,
we're like,
it like slowly started getting louder.
Right,
I'm like, man, this is how much longer before they get here.
In a city like Seattle where you have just way more people coming to a game, and it's just like every street down by the stadium just becomes like
Waves.
solid with people.
It's like
And
a magnet.
Yeah,
There's
And
this,
it's all
there's
just
this
going in,
thing
and
happening,
you just-
and then it gains
Yeah.
more and
you
more
see
and
people
more.
going, and so you're like, okay, it's almost game time. Let's go. And so
Yeah.
you exit, and you're going down the street with everybody else, and I could see that happening like as everybody pours out of Tioga, pours out of
Going
Full
down
Circle,
Inyo
comes
and Kern and,
it comes out of the spots further down Fulton, and so you mass up, and then you're just going down Inyo, and basically taking over the street, and just like a mass of fans from all these different groups just enjoying it, and random people coming in, and it's like, how do you not, if you're the city, how do you not look at something like that and go like,
And also,
This kicks ass.
I don't think
This
that,
makes money.
That dynamic doesn't work in a suburban stadium either. Like, I mean, if we're out on the outskirts of 180 or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to go from our parking spot to the
Yeah, I mean, it's like-
it just like
nothing
just
is-
that vibe, like hearing the chants echoing
Yeah,
off the
I mean, if
buildings
you
and
can
through
see
the
it, right?
streets.
Because like
Yeah.
I worked for the Galaxy, obviously, and I went to the game against. This was 2015. I went to the Seattle match, traveled with the team, and I got to go just kind of be a fan, and we were hanging out with some Sounder supporters, and like I saw that march, and it was like
It's insane.
epic.
Yeah.
But in LA,
Philadelphia Union does the same thing.
do
yeah.
they? Yeah, in LA, it's kind of like a campus.
yeah,
And so it's like maybe some people tailgate, or maybe you just come in early.
Yeah.
But it lacks that. There's only that one bar, like a little bit down the street, that's like that.
yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's,
yeah. No, I've-
it's like a scary movie.
It was an
house. I
AO
don't
bar.
even know.
It was an AO bar
Was it
for a
really?
while, I think.
That place is cool.
But yeah,
South of CenturyLink?
no, we're talking about LA.
in
Oh,
LA,
in LA.
in Carson.
LA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the-
Carson.
whatever Dignity
But-
Health or whatever it is.
Dignity
now.
Health, yeah, but it lacks that type of energy that you get in.
Well, no,
Seattle.
honestly, like going to a bunch of U.S. games at that stadium, and even going to see Arsenal play at that stadium, it's weird because you're tailgating, and you kind of get a march going, but it's way different than like
Than a
being in
downtown.
a congested city and everybody just kind of coming
Yeah.
together.
Or people
you
that
know.
are just sitting there having lunch on the patio
They're
at some
like, what the
restaurant.
hell's
They're
going
like,
on?
oh, this is cool.
Holy
Maybe
shit.
I'll figure it out too.
You know,
or I'll
honestly,
join
like
in.
one of my friends, he became a Chelsea fan. He was stationed in England at the time, and he's just in a bar near Stamford Bridge, and he's like all of a sudden sees all these people walking, and these guys come in the bar, and they're like, "Oh, you're an American, blah blah blah. Hey, you want to go to a Chelsea match?" He's like, "Yeah, we got an extra ticket." So
Oh, wow, so
he,
cool.
yeah, and so he just joins this march into Stamford Bridge
Wow.
and became a Chelsea fan there.
Yeah,
You know?
it provides a different level, and with the suburban facility, you have to try to create that environment a bit, but I don't know if you ever fully achieve it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just more centralized and it's in one spot. But I mean, just like you said, going like we come from Tioga and you got Violantes coming from Los Panchos or wherever,
Yeah.
and
Well,
just everyone converging and going.
And like Esquadron, they were basically tailgating, but then they would come in with us, and so it's like, but so they got you could have it, but it's a lot weirder, and I remember talking to people in Sacramento when we were headed up there, and we're like, oh, do you guys tailgate, or is there a bar near anything? And they're like, well, the nearest bar is a couple miles away, and
So hard.
and you can kind of tailgate a little bit in the parking lot, but you can't do a ton, and so it's just like. Oh, well,
It's not the same. It's not
I
the
guess
same
we're
at
gonna get
all.
bombed on the bus.
Something that
let's not talk about that.
We're not gonna talk about that, but
I mean, I had been thinking about like if we had to go somewhere else, like that's the only way to really think about doing it is like, all right, let's have a bus that
Yeah.
picks up at the Hook
Right,
or
yeah.
picks up at Tioga or whatever and like gets everybody there. But we know what buses are like, and that's a dangerous situation
Well,
for everybody.
I don't understand dangerous. I
Yeah.
think opportunity for fun.
bus
wow.
trips can be very.
Bus
away
trips.
days are great.
Yeah,
They can be
away
very
days are
fun.
great.
And that's actually, I mean, like in England, everybody's you're either gonna take the train or the bus to
Yeah.
an away day, and so you might be on the bus with a bunch of other fans, 6-pack or whatever, and
That's cool.
as long as you keep it cool.
Well, and something about that too that we've been thinking about is like, man, if we get downtown, the Amtrak station's so close. Like
Right.
you've got Hanford, you've got Madera, Merced, Modesto.
How awesome would that be?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That
I mean,
would provide that big city element, that
Yeah.
feeling like if you live in Merced or you live in Madera or you live in Hanford or wherever, that you can have that like BART type of
Yeah,
experience
exactly.
or where
Yeah.
you train, you ride the train in and you get to have drinks on the train and then you walk a block or two to the stadium.
And
Like
that's,
it's just
that's what trips everyone out when I tell them about how it works. So, like, I mean, Stamford Bridge is right in the middle of a residential area and a cemetery. So there's no parking at the stadium. You have to take, like, if you don't live there, you're taking a train in.
Arsenal's very similar. I stayed in an Airbnb that was like attached. You know how in the new stadium they have like all these little like condos, apartments. I Airbnb'd in one of them, and it was so cool. Like I was seeing like these nice cars coming out. I'm like, oh shit, that's all the players.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, that whole experience, I think, it's why we want to be downtown.
Well, and that's why it was a trip to me. Like anytime over the long history of the football in Fresno, like when people would be like, oh, well, we need to be out in their part. It's like, have you never been to a match anywhere else? Like,
yes,
of course,
the answer to that question is yes.
Yes, they've never been.
And
that's but it's crazy because like, it's not like we're going to watch your kid play soccer on a Saturday morning. Yep. We're talking about a professional event, and so you need it to be in that urban setting. Yeah. And it makes way more sense. And anytime you put it out in the crazy distance, it's just like you lose energy. And so, and I would say that's true of any sport, but
especially soccer.
Yeah,
I mean,
soccer
especially soccer. I feel like the game is short. So the day is not just like when you go to an NFL game or an MLB game.
You're there for 5-6 hours.
It's the whole time. Like
it's a day.
Yeah, you're exhausted by the time it's over. But a soccer game is so short that it's like you need a pre and a post.
Yeah,
and that's part of the experience of people is to be able to enjoy that type of stuff. And being in downtown, I would want other people to be like, "What the hell's going on down here? Everybody's wearing the jerseys. I got to check this out. This is something."
And we would do good business basically where people were there at Tioga just like on a Saturday or whatever. And like, what are you guys doing? Like, how do I get that wristband? Well, you join our club, and then I give you get cheaper beers, But you also get this and this and this. And hey, we're gonna go to the soccer game. You want to come? And especially like within the years when we got kind of launched and we're working very closely with the team, like Schulte would always find ways to where we had extra tickets around, and so it's like
you can invite people.
If we weren't selling a ticket, we could always give a ticket, and that was actually one of the other things too within our own club is just like there's plenty of times where people are like, hey, I'm not going to go to this, I can't go make this match. Can I drop my tickets off with you and we'll have them at the table and we'll just pump it out like, hey, we got like 4 extra tickets at the table right now. If anybody needs them, come by it.
Yeah,
and
great.
people would come and you're just like, yo, here you go. And it's like you're getting people in. People bring their friends.
And that was always our biggest selling point. So many times people be like, man, I didn't know what this was all about. I went to one game and I was hooked.
Yeah.
This was so much fun.
And people move from other parts of the U.S. and that like, I know we got a couple members like, oh, they lived in like Columbus and they moved out here. And so he was like, trying to connect with, I got to find the local soccer team. Met us at Tioga and was like, okay, I'm moving out in a couple months, so I'm going to join next season. And he did, and it's those sort of things where, you're building community, you're attracting community, you run into people that are like, oh, I know you from work. And then now I see you at the game and what is this thing you're involved with?
It's like a family. It's a big family. Yeah, I love it. I mean, praying for it, man. Just
it's honestly when Fuego was announced and everything, I mean, it was just like, okay, this is we've talked a million times about it. It's like, okay, kind of getting the band back together,
no doubt. And I mean, from us, it's like I wish I could focus more on the marketing and the ticket sales and the sponsorship and all that type of stuff.
Man now, though.
But now it's all 100% dedication to get this facility.
Yeah.
And it's every waking moment I spend, I'm thinking about what's the strategy to help convince and steer the people that lead this community and lead this city to understand all the things that you guys are talking about and to understand that that this team has the opportunity to uplift so many downtown businesses. And it's like I love the Grizzlies and I love Derek Franks and I think they do an incredible job. But as we stated, baseball, you kind of go to the game, everything's there that you need, and it's a long game, and then you go home. So there's not always a ton of pre and post game type of festivities.
Right.
Where soccer
we're
really
posting up
lifts that
hey,
up.
what food trucks are going to be at Tioga today?
Yeah,
right. It's all about uplifting that entire area, and I think that type of impact from a financial perspective and economics standpoint, I mean, you got to look at that and think this is a good thing for our community.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. I mean, and especially with a local investor, someone who's like very ingrained in the community and everything. And, now I just feels like everything's set up for this to succeed. Like, this is kind of what we always wanted.
And when the team put out, the call, like, hey, if you can, email the mayor, email the, your city council person, stuff like that. Was that like a month ago?
Yeah, about a month ago.
It's like, I was surprised. It was a form response, but I was surprised that the mayor's office responded. That like people sent emails and he said, hey, I'm on board with this as a part of what I see in this one Fresno vision of mine, blah, blah. And so like, I was like, oh, cool. Like,
he took the time to do it.
You thought this out. You've got a good response, and you're on board. So, man, let's get this thing done.
I think too, it's like we always hear from local politicians like, oh, we just we want more business, we want more of this, we want more of that. Well, here's your opportunity.
Here.
It's right
let's
there.
Get it done, city council.
Willing to do it, so let's get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, Mayor Dyer has been incredible. He was super supportive. So I mean, I still feel very confident that we're in a good space, and that we're working hard on it every single day. So hopefully we'll get there.
What do you expect from your fans and particularly your supporters groups? That's probably a giant question, but just because as a group, we think football is about us, the fans, and it's about a product for us, and we support you, and it's a part of our community, and we make it a whole thing together. But you on the team side, what are you looking for in your supporters?
An army. I mean, I think that we are. The thing that I love the most about Fuego is that all of us have this like deep connection in some type of way that feels like this is something bigger than who we are as individuals. And I think that we have created this together, this army of people that want this so badly. And we feel and we know that this community deserves it. So, I mean, the typical stuff, of course, buy the merchandise, buy the tickets, support the club, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's just live and breathe Fuego. I mean, this is something that I do feel like our community can rally around. I mean, when you go to Pittsburgh or you go to Seattle, it's like you see red, you see the yellow and gold, I mean the gold and black. You see the Seahawks colors everywhere. And it's like they take so much pride that that's our team. And the thing that makes this special, and especially at the League One level, is that we're going to do everything in our power to have the majority of our team be made up of local players. So this is literally homegrown from the business side to the field. And these are our community members that are competing with our Central Valley across their chest against the rest of the world, in my opinion. And it's like, just be an army, get behind it, and be proud that this is here.
I think we can do that.
We're all about. No, I totally agree. It's crazy to think about it, because I've actually talked with some friends. It's like, over the years, like we said from the get-go, like I wouldn't be sitting here on this couch with Ed if it weren't for Fuego. I mean, maybe we would have got to know each other through Chelsea and Arsenal.
You never know.
You never know.
Crazy,
but it's just crazy how many, like you said, we know people who've gotten married that met through Fire Squad. We've got, we
know people that had Fuego the Fox at their wedding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just,
I'm glad he's back too.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's back.
I mean, it's just, you think about it, and again, we're just a supporters club that supports our local soccer team. But it's like, then you start to think about it, and it's like the friendships you forge, the loves you meet, the causes, like you get involved in certain causes and everything. Perfect example for me is, owning a bar in Clovis. Like, Clovis, you don't think of diehard soccer fans, I've got some very old, set in their way regulars. And when I first started showing soccer, man, what are we watching this bullshit, boring ass game for? But and
now they know the players.
Now they've got jerseys.
After about 2 years, hey, I saw Chelsea's in third right now. Oh, they're doing pretty good. Hey, you signed that American kid, and now it's like, oh yeah, okay.
The storm has come, and it's completely taken over. And it's incredible to see.
And even like we have our old regulars, just these old curmudgeon dudes sitting at the end of the bar. Hey, sing that song about that dead woman again. It's like that.
Yo, that song sucks.
It's a great song.
It's super offensive.
Well, hey, I mean, so to kind of wrap up and close out, where can people find out how to join Fire Squad and where to find you guys?
Well, right now you can't join because so Fire Squad Fresno on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can, that's the easiest way.
Yeah, social
and
media
when there's games and stuff to start going again, then obviously we'll post up like, here's how you become an actual member and what membership means and what you get out of it, but also what you're joining into, which is important to us about you're joining into our group, and it is, and it's, we're more formal than the other groups. Nothing against the way they do theirs. It just, this is who we are, and we want, if you're going to wear my squad jersey, I want people to not think you're an a-hole,
Yeah, right.
So joining our group means something, and again, each group has their own ways of joining, and honestly, like this last year, I'll throw it in real quick. I've been super happy that like some of the factions that we've had between different groups has seemed a lot more collaborative. And honestly, we had lunch the other day with a couple of the leaders of Skulk, just that for no reason, more than just like
it was just after
a match, we went to the same restaurant and had lunch together, and it's not like we're tight with them or whatever, or super buddies, but it's like no. We all support the same teams, and
groups
we
can
have fun.
get super territorial, and
They
but at the same time, you also sit down and you realize it's like, okay, we all have the same goal.
Yeah,
we just want to support
we're all there to
the local
support
team.
Fuego,
Yep.
So.
And granted, different groups have their different identities and what they're about and everything. But at the end of the day, we really want that game day. We want to
have fun with each other, and
we want to go next to Selland Arena.
100%. One kind of last thing that what do I want personally from the fans and really the supporter clubs is I support and believe in different factions and different groups because I think everybody wants to have a different level of experience and maybe they have different viewpoints and different styles. But one thing that I would love to see happen is some more unified chants on game day, because I think when you talk about that home field advantage and when you talk about intimidating the opponent, that unified sound that you see at LAFC or Borussia Dortmund or wherever you see it around the world, it means something. And I think it takes time to get there, and we're working through those things. But that's something I would love to see is some more unified chants.
And in the right stadium, it's a lot easier to do it. You know what I mean? Like, we were so spread out in Chuck Chansey that, if Violantes are drumming over here, by the time that sound gets over to Esquadron, like, it's a second late, and so it's just
it's going over the Skulk and us
and
doing
so it's
our
like,
thing.
And so
it's
even if we're all trying to do the same chant, it can be chaotic. But if we're in a section that's more constructed for soccer fans, safe standing or whatever it is, and and packed in tighter, well, we have to work together more because there's no room for those guys over there and those guys over there and us guys over here and these guys here.
It's just going to be noise
to
like
not work together. And I'm sure there'll still be times where it's going to be chaotic, but I think
that's also part of
the more we can work together, is a very good thing.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, fellas, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. This was fun. It wasn't enough time. We'll have to do it again.
Definitely.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. See you soon.